This is a 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. And in late March, I got a chance to drive the brand new CX-90 PHEV alongside the 3.3 Turbo S outside of San Francisco. Now, I already published a full review on the CX-90 Turbo S, as well as an interview about the technology inside the car and the vehicle dynamics that's used as well. So instead of doing a full review, this video is going to focus on the PHEV powertrain, mainly what it's like and how it feels to drive. It is, after all, Mazda's first plug-in, and the base price of Mazda's very first plug-in is $48,820. That is for a Mazda CX-90 PHEV Preferred. That is one of 3 trims offered for the PHEV. The other 2 are Premium, which starts at $54,275, and Premium Plus, which starts at $58,325. With that, let's go back to Northern California and take a closer look in and around the 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. So here is the 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. This is bigger in every dimension than the CX-9 that it's replacing, and in my opinion, it's a lot prettier as well. All right, let's take a closer look. Looking at the car in front, you can see it's got a very wide presence to it. It's got this nice broad grille right here with this nice open weave pattern built into it, and then this chrome lower perimeter down here. We've got more chrome down there at the lower lip spoiler, and a nice big and proud Mazda emblem right there. We've also got these very pretty headlights built in right here. They're kind of like tucked into the bodywork a little bit, and then just kind of have this nice flash out. These headlights are a lot smaller than what we see on a lot of products these days. Lots of times they like start here and go all the way back here. So I actually really appreciate the relative small size to it. And then above the grille, you get to this nice long sloping hood here, but the hood is not what I'm interested in nearly as much as what's under the hood. Nice gas struts to hold the hood open, and then you have a longitudinally mounted inline 4-cylinder right there, the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter, but that is connected to an electric motor that delivers a lot more power to give you that total 323. What's really nice about having the longitudinal layout with an inline cylinder engine is that it helps push the weight farther back. So more of the weight is in the middle of the car instead of on the front axle. That gives you a lighter front end, gives you better turn-in response, and because this inline cylinder is so narrow, it gives a lot more space for suspension work on either side. You can see how far in and how low down these shock towers are, and that's because the inline 4-cylinder engine gives you the room to have all that. And by the way, windshield washer fluid goes right there. Looking at the car in profile, it's a little bit not quite profile because it's in a garage to help keep it dry, but you can get a sense of how long this SUV really is. I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen for you to check out. A couple quick things to notice. It has a much shorter front overhang than the CX-9 and a longer rear overhang than the CX-9. So the weight has definitely shifted towards the rear. Also, you've got this nice little chrome piece down here that flows and reminds you what the brand is at the end. Also, nice little reminder that you opted for the plug-in hybrid right there, and has this nice window trim in chrome around the top as well. So yeah, a lot of nice little touches to make it feel just a little bit more upscale. These are the larger of 2 wheels offered. You can either get 19-inch wheels or these 21-inch wheels on the Mazda CX-90. And you do get just enough sidewall to work with, so you still have a pleasant ride. Also, if you sneak your eyes past the wheel just a little bit, you can see the upper control arm. This is a double wishbone front suspension. That is a very nice front suspension geometry to have. Very, very happy to see that. And in back, if you look closely enough, there are 5 links. This is a 5-link, also independent rear suspension. Looking at the rear of the car, no, the bike rack is not standard, but it does show you that you can mount such a thing on this. After all, you can tow up to 3,500 pounds with the PHEV, And because this is a nice top trim, you have more chrome down here, down low. And another reminder that this is an eSky Active PHEV. And unlike the headlights up front, you have these long and center tail lights that kind of just keep going and going and going. And a subtle roof spoiler there for all that needed downforce. And finally, you do get dual exhaust tips, but there's nothing fake about them. You just get them on either end beneath the bumper, here and here. Okay, of course we've got a power lift gate. And with it up, it reveals 15 cubic feet of storage. We do also have 12 volt charge port there, 120 volts right there, up to 150 watts. And we have another 120 volt port right there. And if you need more than 15 cubic feet of storage and do not need to carry 6 people, easy to do with 2 hands. And a couple of straps pulled gives you 40 cubic feet of storage and seating for 4. And as you saw, the headrests fold automatically when you pull those straps. And while we're back here, this is an easy time to show you, we do have a couple of USB ports and cup holders for the 3rd row, so there's some comfort back there. But if you need even more space, still easy to do. And just like that, you have 75 cubic feet of storage and room for 2. All right, let's check out the inside. There are 3 rows in this SUV, and I will show you all 3, but I'm not gonna go back there because even though it looks nice and comfortable for kids, I am not a child, so I'll just let you know that they're back there. You can see that the seat floor is pretty darn low, so I'm sure adults could physically fit in there. I just don't think it'd be all that terribly comfortable. But check out these 2nd row captain's chairs. Now we're talking. I am 5 foot 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and I have nice and high seat bottoms, so good thigh support. I have at least, I'd say, 3 inches of knee room, and even with this panoramic moonroof, I do have headroom as well. I'll quickly move the camera so you can see that I have less than a 90-degree bend in my knees, so that's plenty comfortable. And there are some luxuries back here. We have a 3-zone climate control system back here, and in the Premium Plus models, you do get heated seats for the 2nd row. There's also a couple of USB ports, and on sunnier days than this, of course, the 2nd row also has a shade. So yeah, some nice luxuries back here. And you also get an armrest, which is nice, and it has a little ratcheting effect to adjust it. And if you need cup holders, pull that bad boy up right there, and you got a couple of cup holders. Really, pretty darn comfortable in here. I could easily do a road trip back here. All right, to the front. You have this nice material on the door and nice stitching as well. Usual controls here. You do also have plenty of adjustments for the seat right here, and that does include lumbar support. There are lots of buttons to the left of the steering wheel for you to use right there. And if you need to adjust the tilt and telescope of the steering, you do that manually right there. The seat itself has a nice pattern to it, and the bolstering's okay. It's not that deep, but it's respectable considering that we're talking about a 3-row SUV. And I do like this copper strip that's in the center of the seat. I think that's a nice touch. Okay, actually jumping into a 3rd PHEV, just the way space and scheduling and everything's working out, you get a 12.25 fully digital instrument cluster, and next to that you do get a 12.25 inch center console touchscreen. Standard equipment is a 10.25 inch screen, so still awfully big. And because we're in a higher trim, we also get a head-up display as well. Push button start is right here. And here is that 12.25 inch screen lit up. And right next to that, the 12.25 inch center console touchscreen lit up. Now, standard on CX-90 is both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This being a Premium Plus, this is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Beneath that are the first 2 zones of your 3-zone climate control system. And as you can see, you have lots of real buttons to use to make fine adjustments. And because this is a Premium Plus, we get a heated steering wheel as well as heated and ventilated seats for both front seats. Beneath that is a wireless smartphone charging device, and next to that, a nice 12-volt charge port right there. Now, just like wireless Apple CarPlay, you have to go Premium Plus or higher to get the wireless charge pad. Beneath that, you do get My Drive, which are the drive modes. This is charge mode. This is a separate button. I'll tell you about that in just a sec. And then here is your Prindle. Now this is a little bit atypical, just a touch. So park's right here. To get out of park, you press the button here, move it over to the right. That puts you in reverse. From there, you can go up, down, reverse, neutral, drive. You have to go back to reverse and then push it over back to the left to put it back in park. A couple of cup holders. Here's your central command for the center console touchscreen. You do have a separate button for volume and that kind of stuff, and it does also move this way so you can change stations or whatever that way, and then rotate it for volume, and then it's a push button to turn it on and off. You do have an electric parking brake, and below that, clamshell opening, lower center console storage with more USB ports down there. Looking up, we do have a couple of buttons and a sunglasses holder, and here is our panoramic moonroof, and yes, the privacy panel is electric. Lovely. Okay, drive modes. You get many drive modes in the PHEV. They are Sport, Normal, EV, and Off-Road. And if you press this button down here, that's how you put it in charge mode. And you'll hear the engine kick on right away when it's in charge mode. And by the way, here's the battery level and here's the fuel level right there. So you can see the battery is about 3/4 full right there. So there is still something to charge. Anyway, this car offers quite a lot. There's a lot of buttons and switches and gear. There's a lot of comfort in here. But most importantly, I'm excited to get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. Two of them are turbocharged inline sixes, and one of them is a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. But it's very interesting in its own right, because it is Mazda's first plug-in hybrid powertrain, and it actually makes use of an engine that they have a lot of experience with, a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine. It makes 189 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 192 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. But unlike the two inline-six engines, this gets help from a 173 horsepower electric motor that also makes 199 pound-feet of torque. In total, you get 323 horsepower, and the same as the top turbo engine, 369 pound-feet of torque. That is very respectable for a plug-in hybrid, and I'm quite happy to see that Mazda put the work in to give you some horsepower like that. Being a plug-in hybrid, you get a 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack to work with, and that of course delivers several miles of electric-only driving. As I showed you in the plug-in hybrid, you can have it in charge mode, you can have it in EV mode, or you can have it in normal mode, which is just hybrid mode. So you have a lot of different ways that you can use that battery as you wish. And according to Mazda, it'll take about 2.5 hours to completely charge it on a level 2 system. Regardless of which powertrain you choose, you get the same transmission. It is an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is Mazda's own in-house 8-speed automatic transmission, and it does not have a torque converter. It instead uses a wet clutch pack, which is lighter and uses a little bit less energy. And I think that Mazda could make that work and make it operate smoothly, which it does, because it has the help of the hybrid motors, the electric motors, that can get you moving before the transmission fully engages, locks up the clutches, and off you go with the 8 gears. And I've already said it a few times, but yes, all CX-90s are all-wheel drive. And my initial impressions of this plug-in hybrid powertrain are quite positive. You are certainly not lacking for power. You have plenty of pull at low RPMs. The electric motor delivers fantastic response there. It's a smooth transition between the electric motor and the gasoline engine. And, you know, when you put it all together, you get good pull. You get really good pull. And I have to say, that's not a bad sound either. As far as naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engines go, that's one of the nicer sounding ones. And of course, because this is a plug-in hybrid, we do get excellent fuel economy. But while fuel economy is very important, especially in something like a plug-in hybrid, what is a lot more fun is accelerating. Let's not forget, 323 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. Of course I had to test it, even in the wet. Let me show you that now. Okay, time for a quick acceleration test, coming to a complete stop. I do have the car in sport mode, by the way. I'm not going to use brake torquing. I'm just going to come to a complete stop and stomp on the gas. Oh, yeah. Ah, nice. Wow. 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 In a plug-in hybrid, that is good pull. Yeah, stomp on the gas. Nice initial launch from the car. No worries about traction, even in the rain, and we just scooted off. 323 horsepower, that is plenty to get this thing moving. It weighs more than 5,000 pounds. It does not feel it because of the amount of horsepower and the amount of torque and the wide range that you have that torque. Yeah, stout acceleration from the CX-90. Yeah, good fun. Genuinely good fun to see that potent acceleration in something this big and heavy. Also, very much despite the weather, there were some curvy roads on this drive that I've done so far, and I did really want to see how this CX-90 handles, especially one with a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery pack on its floor. Mazda did put a lot of work into making this an inherently good handling car. After all, as I mentioned, you do get a double wishbone front suspension. That is class act stuff to have in terms of handling. You also get a 5-link rear suspension. Also really good geometry for an inherently good handling car. Longitudinally mounted engine. That shifts the weight backwards, so you have better weight balance, a lighter front end, more responsive front end. And doing all those things makes it easier to tune to be enjoyable and still give a good ride and proper handling all at the same time. So I tested that as well. Let me show you that. Okay, even though it's soaking wet and even though it's a plug-in hybrid, I do have a few corners ahead of me. So I put the Mazda CX-90 in sport driving mode and we'll see how it feels. Right away, you can feel that you've got real good feel from the steering and really nice weighting as well. It's turning predictably. It's gripping the road pretty darn well, even though there's not a lot of grip to be had. And there's good balance from the chassis, good front to rear chassis balance here. I'm really happy with how much feel I've got in this wet conditions. This is, man, Mazda continues to just make really good driving vehicles, even in this modern era where it gets harder and harder, where more and more electricity is used for everything. Mazda still brings feel to their cars, even in a 3-row SUV, and I appreciate that so very much. But an SUV like this, it's not gonna be your go-to canyon carver, even if it's good at it. This is gonna be to get work done, get family places, get stuff places. So how does this car ride? How comfortable is it? How does it feel? Well, as you can see, you can get a healthy amount of luxury in the Mazda CX-90, especially if you go one of the higher trims. So there's a lot of inherent space in here and comfort and easy to reach switchgear and all that kind of stuff. And Mazda definitely executed. You get a real nice balance between ride and handling. Even though this feels good around corners, it also feels plenty compliant around bumps and heaves in the road and all that kind of stuff. Furthermore, there's a lot of safety built into this. Mazda calls it iActive Sense. I'll go ahead and put the list of all the driving aids you get right there. And, you know, it's pretty competitive with a lot of the stuff that's out there these days. And you get plenty of airbags and stuff like that as well. There's 10 of them in the Mazda CX-90. It has plenty of safety, it rides well, and that's true on roads like this or on the interstate. Yes, I did test it there as well. Yes, it was wet there as well. Let me show you that. Time for a quick stint on the interstate outside of San Francisco, the very, very wet interstate. So, clearly, wind noise and road noise, especially road noise, are going to be higher than normal at this point, but I must say that first impressions, this is a very refined driving experience on the interstate. We have a nice smooth ride. We're going over a lot of bumps, a lot of lumpy pavement here, and it's controlling all of that really well. It feels confident and stable and sure-footed on the interstate. Of course, we do have a bunch of driving aids. I'm going to turn that on right now. Okay, cruise control is set to more or less go with the traffic we have here. We are driving away from the city right now, so traffic is theoretically at least going to get lower as we go. So this being a Premium Plus PHEV Mazda CX-90, we do have a fully digital instrument cluster, and that instrument cluster gives a lot of really interesting information. Let me show you that right now. So as you can see, it shows we're on a 3-lane road, and it'll show us things that are going on in all 3 lanes. It shows that we have a car approaching. It shows that we have 2 other cars in the left lane, and that at the moment the right lane is open. So that is really fascinating to see what this car shows us. Also, we've got this green circle right there. That indicates that all the different sensors on the CX-90 are operational. Generally speaking, I think this is a really nice highway cruiser, and that Mazda did a really good job tuning this to be comfortable on the interstate. Well, there it is, the 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. I think it's pretty easy to tell that I quite like the way it drives. I thought it was quite impressive on the interstate. It's really pretty darn fast, and even handles pretty well. In that soaking wet, curvy road, it still gave good positive responses on the road. Really, really nice. That makes this a great driving SUV full stop, let alone a plug-in hybrid SUV. The one thing to bear in mind though is we're definitely much closer to premium prices than mainstream prices for an SUV. So that's gonna limit who can really look at this car in terms of cost. But if you can afford it, it's a great, great option. And if you're interested in something like this, Lincoln also has a plug-in hybrid, the Lincoln Aviator Grand Touring. I got a chance to review that a few months ago, and that impressed me as well. That one, if you can believe it, is even faster. And from there, I've reviewed a whole bunch of stuff by now. Something's gonna pop up on the screen. Hopefully it's something you're interested in, and if you do watch it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.